Welcome back to the Paladins Pro Circuit, where now we are moving on to our final region of the day. It's time for North America. Europe was a great set. Brazil ended up being maybe a little closer than it looked, and now on to North America to close out. Finch, I'm going to be joined by Kresnik. Bud, you back with us? You doing good over there?
Yeah, did not get swallowed by the void, or at least I clawed my way out after the situation during Stone Keep, and I had to. The willpower in me, I needed to see Sanguine versus Project after I think all of NA I feel like has been building up to this with these two teams, the strongest in the region, brawling it out.
Yeah, this is going to be potentially a really big match, right? That's what makes this one so important. Sanguine and Team Project are up there near the top, undefeated. Sanguine have gone losing a few less maps than Team Project. I think that is of some note. So potentially a slight edge there to Sanguine, Krez, but I don't know, man. This is going to be a pretty close one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're right about the edge for Sanguine, because I think they fit this meta so well. They were playing what everybody's playing now when no one was playing it. They were doing it just because they felt like forcing triple DPS all the time, and then it just ended up being the best thing to play. So they really do have themselves in, I think, a very strong position now that this is happening. But there's been time for these teams to catch up, and now has this team of all these ex-PPL players been able to catch up to the kind of fresher team and roster that is Sanguine.
Well, we'll be going to Serpent Beach for our first map here, Krez. And I've been watching a lot of Europe and Brazil matches, those ones I've been casting. So I haven't seen quite as much North America. Are they valuing the IO just as much here, or are we expecting that kind of map here again, where maybe there's not the big focus on these point tanks, and instead we're kind of trying to get away from that?
I think we'll definitely see IO. Sanguine was one of the first teams to pick it up. I think right when the PPC started, they brought out this IO emoji weirdness that only they were playing at the time. But it's become a big thing that they were kind of able to bring it to the forefront. So wouldn't be shocked to see it. It provides so much flexibility to whatever team locks it in. But speaking of flexibility, these Victor Vivian bans, normally you'd see it targeted at the console players, but Sanguine, even being a team with console players, I feel like don't suffer too much from it. So Team Project, maybe a little iffy in the bans to start. Sanguine kind of target them back with Evie and Inara being gone. They end up with Andy to start. It's 3 hit scans that Sanguine don't have the choice to pick from.
That's right, and not just losing out on those 3 hit scans, but losing out on a good deal of mobility, right? Especially when you factor in the Evie's been banned out too, and now it gets first picked here by Team Project, the Androxus, who can make great use of that on Serpent Beach. But of course, Sanguine pick up the IO in response. Luna will be, I assume, parked on the point and chilling. They're going to pair that with the BK as well, who I feel like we haven't been seen getting picked up that much on Serpent Beach, but certainly still plenty strong.
Oh yeah, a great tool for pushing aggressively up top as well. If they end up with a con, they can, or even giving up the con depending on how Project wants to go, they can get very aggressive on that high ground, especially with the Swift Arrows pocket onto the BK. When he wants to use King Bomb, he will just zoom from high ground to high ground. Anybody who wants to keep that locked down is not going to be able to. Furia being picked up in response, I think, is solid. Gonna have that chip damage to fight down any flankers that are trying to get in. And Ashe to make counter space into the Bomb King. So Team Project have a chance to initiate with an Inflame, with an Assert Dominance. They're starting to have the tools already to make space on Serpent Beach.
And they're in a tough spot where there's only those 2 off tanks, really, that I think that are super strong in this composition. It is the Ashe and the Con. And so Team Project take the Ashe. That just means the Sanguine happily take the Con. They might even have preferred it, potentially. He can set up a lot of different stuff. He's able to find a big pull. They're going to add the Strix alongside here, too. So now they got some sniping to sort of help out here as well. How are you liking this draft that's materialized here for Sanguine?
I think it's pretty solid so far. The Strix is going to put on a lot of pressure, or at least deny a lot of pressure potentially coming in. That burst damage from whoever plays it on Sanguine, either of the 2 DPS that end up playing it, it's going to be incredibly strong. They're both excellent hit scan players, ratting off a lot of headshots. That burst damage is going to really mess up anyone's idea of how long they can survive when they get chunked for 1800 more or less. And that Ying to support it, I think, is a great ending to the draft by Sanguine. Having 2 supports, I think, is very important for sustain. Not only do they have the best for tankiness, they have one of the better ones for raw damage in the Ying.
They do. This is really strong from Sanguine, and it's showing a bit of that difference in mentality, right? Team Project are doing the double front line, right, with this Ashe and the Terminus. Then the 2 damage dealers sort of follow it up, and only the 1 support. But Sanguine trusting in that double support, going to let Luna do some of that extra work for them, sitting on the point, and that Con could be a little bit more free to roam. I think that a lot of the times with these comps, it really does come down to kind of that initial fight and how that positioning goes right on the back.
Yeah, I agree. How they end up starting to match up into each other. It's going to be more important for the team with less tanks too, because they have to have. I think the side that has less people there, they have to have less people on. If they have their tank on one side, they kind of have to play almost a straight line behind them and just line up to surround whatever aggression comes out from Team Project. Or they're just going to get overwhelmed if they don't have a tank in the way. Unless it's the Bomb King single-handedly locking down a whole lane, they're not going to be able to stop G-Bunny from walking in with backup from Shadow or Ricotta.
I imagine G-Bunny will have a lot to do with how this initial fight goes for Team Project. We're following along with Ricotta, who's found some big shots and pushed the con back, and already Luna doing as Luna does, building up some percentage. But look at this Andro flank. I don't think that this was expected. Cool ends up falling early on, and Hiro gets first blood with a little bit of help from his Andy, and already that puts Team Project in a good spot. But look at the percentage they've given up, 54, already built up from Sanguine as Shadow relegates everyone back to this waterfall side. G-Bunny there to keep this pincer maneuver going. Wadu, though, does find the turnaround kill onto Shadow, so maybe Sanguine are doing better here than I thought. Poison gets rid of G-Bunny as well.
They just fight too closely to the con. You can't play that aggressively right in front of a Bomb King con combination. You're just going to get stunned and annihilated. It looked like Team Project might have been able to turn around with that early flank even against the IO cap pressure, but with the timing of those deaths, IO, the cap time, builds up, and Sanguine take the first point of the round. Team Project just needed to play a little further away, play their poke. They have decent distance outside of the Terminus. I don't know why they didn't abuse it.
Yeah, not so sure either, but instead, Shadow ends up way too close and ends up falling early on to Sanguine. Now in decent positioning to start looking for a bit of a push. Hiro comes in aggressively, and he ends up falling as well. So the rest of Sanguine can keep right on pushing. They've taken care of G-Bunny as well. This is not bad what they've earned off the back of that initial mid-fight here. Really, it'll be this next battle over this high ground once Team Project come in.
And having Strix and Ying in the carry corner is going to make this such a mountain to climb for Project, I feel. Already getting forced out into spawn. They're going to have to go through everybody else on the team, too, if they want to make it with a Bomb King over there as well. Complete control from Sanguine, and this is the nightmare scenario of Serpent Beach. One of the only ways you can cap, but this Inflame couldn't make enough room to stop it.
It could, as ballersteve and Poison both find kills. That Shadow and Hiro removed from the equation, and I don't think this payload has stopped moving since they got it. The push successful for Sanguine as they grab a 2-1 over, or 2-0 rather, over Team Project. And I really do think it was those sort of staggered deaths and then that just disgusting positioning from Ghogert on the Strix. I mean, I don't know where Team Project was supposed to go.
Nowhere really at that point. Maybe they had to send Bunny through the window to cut across to the carry corner instead of directly contesting the Bomb King. By the time Bunny finally fought through everybody and actually pushed into the backline, they had already lost. Literally, the cart had already rolled in by the time Bunny finally made the space he needed to. So maybe a little faster by them, but maybe even just a hard focus in front, try to focus the con, not let them grip Hiro. Things have to change for this mid-fight, though. They have to respect Wadu a little bit more on this stun con. There's a reason Vortex Grip has become the go-to for basically everybody. They just have to play that. They have to keep their distance from them. They can't cap the point. They could have just played off that advantage instead of trying to make another one somewhere else.
Everyone on Sang going to come to this next fight streaking because of how well things have gone for them. G-Bunny getting aggressive and trying to force Ghogert off his positioning. I think that's great, but here's the pull right into the King Bomb. That is an easy combo to take care of Ricotta, and the Cassie no longer an issue for them. It's mostly the Terminus now that's trying to hold on to positioning, but Shadow making his presence felt with a triple kill. Hello, as he puts down ballersteve, Poison, and Ghogert, making a fourth as he takes care of rKuhl as well. Wadu gets removed, and just like that, Team Project now firmly in control.
You said it was an easy combo, but I think that's because it was an unnecessary one. They didn't need to
It didn't seem like they needed both.
No, it was about 900 damage that needed to be done, and the King Bomb was not really the way that they needed to do it. They could have had it to stop more pressure, but they just couldn't. And now they're moving in. Hiro dodges the Vortex Grip on the point. This opens room up, but Sanguine, they're taking a lot of ground. Wadu can't withstand the onslaught.
Well, Team Project have 99% in the overtime ticking. Wadu has made his way in and is holding on, but he wasn't able to actually get the grab, so it is Team Project that get the capture. The payload is now going to start on moving, but these are some decent kills from Team Project on the back of this Inflame. Maybe they can keep this moving. They do get the kill onto Poison as well. Nice kill on the Ghogert, so they'll get a decent amount of pushing on this payload in the back. A Shadow is just racking up the kills on the Andy. That is first pick value.
Yeah, he is just running through them. He's so strong on this map, being able to poke from a good distance while taking all that high ground. You can also see the fact that he can deny burst damage with the reversal too. One bomb and one Strix shot into that reversal is basically going to one-shot a squishy target. Not 100 to 0, but you're going to have a little bit of damage if you're fighting an Andy. It's close enough. He's going to be able to completely flip a fight on its head. Couldn't do it at the start, but finally finding his footing as they went on by playing the distance a little bit more against Wadu and Poison.
They played it well, and I think you were absolutely right to point out that there was no need for both those ultimates, right? The Khan ultimate and the Bomb King ultimate to both be put into rKuhl on the Cassie. I mean, they took rKuhl out of it. He was not going to be a part of them stopping him, but they didn't have a ton of tools left on the backside. So now Team Project in a position where maybe they can make a favorable push here, Kresnik, try and get some ground. They're not going to have quite that same great spot that Sanguine did, but they're still pushing.
Yeah, they have the ability to take that control, though, I feel, with the Androxus and the Terminus, who can both actually take that high ground, but Bunny maybe a little bit too fast. Fighting Poison alone, taking a lot of other damage, doesn't get away either, so this little desync might cost them an early push.
It looks like it has. That was the time that Sanguine used so well on their push. And now Team Project won't get to make. Kuhl's grab to kill. This Terminus will be staggered back as well as he'll fall to join the rest of the squad. Maybe not even a disengage here either as they catch rKuhl. Nice work from Sanguine to fully stall this push out. So that's a good amount of time that Sanguine have eaten up here.
Yeah, I think they have a great comp to hold this as well with this high ground that they're controlling. Poison, able to spam any choke point. Only real weakness is going to be where Hiro is right now if rKuhl finds his way over there as well to get some long-range poke. Shadow wants to open things up with an accursed arm, but look how far back everyone on Sanguine is. They might maybe get shot through the hole, but Shadow just has to cancel. No one's presenting themselves as a threat.
Yeah, I don't know if you realized that there really weren't very many good targets. Hiro ends up falling as a result. I think he ended up getting grabbed and brought back pretty easily for the team, so he's been shot down. And really, Team Project now starting to flounder a little bit in terms of getting around this next bend. They're not even at the worst choke point yet either for Team Project, so this could be a really difficult push with this little amount of time left.
Let's be real, Finch. Every choke point is the worst choke point on Serpent Beach. You are constantly fighting from the worst angle possible on the offense, I would say. And a stun comes in from onto rKuhl. They can't follow up, and you can see how aggressive they can be on defense, but they spend the inflame because Hiro's all over them.
Well, I think I get it, right? There's a lot of extra premium here as Hiro ends up falling yet again. This Bomb King has been a real problem. Poison almost lives out, but Shadow comes back in to clean up. But Wadu has been the man with the plan so far. He dashes in, captures Shadow, brings him back as well. The overtime ticking now, and this is really no shot for Team Project. But I think I get it. Didn't this feel like there was some extra premium on capping it? Because now Sanguine have a chance to win this with just the next mid-fight.
Yeah, it's a very risky place to spend your ultimates. They at least now will have double comeback instead of the single comeback, but they're under the threat of potentially losing it all. And Sanguine, looking at this, I think they have to watch their flank just a little bit harder here on the mid. This is exactly what happened last mid, except this time Shadow played safer. That's literally the only difference, and he almost got a penta if Hiro hadn't taken it away from him. So just one person, please, anybody on Sanguine, watch your flank. Deny Shadow from getting in, because looking at these KDAs, he's the only one really finishing off kills.
It is. It's been a lot of Shadow putting in that last bit of damage that they need. But I think that they have done enough on the side of Team Project to kind of allow Shadow to get just a little bit lost. Hiro is right in everyone's face. So is G Bunny as well. You're constantly having to focus on them. Obviously, they're worried about rKuhl. They put a ton into him as well. And Shadow has thrived in that space. He goes up this time, immediately catches a bunch of shots.
He saved Bunny!
Ends up falling, but gets out.
He saved G-Bunny. He floated down and caught G-Bunny in the middle of the overpower. That was an unreal play by Shadow, being in the perfect position, and that lets Project keep things held. That is one of the craziest saves I've seen on a con yet, and that's going to let them actually stay in this game.
Things could have been a whole lot worse now for Team Project, but they built up decent positioning. Problem is they still got Poison on that high ground, raining in damage. The King Bomb is charged up. He wants to come in for Hiro. He does find him, but Shadow's onslaught cannot be deterred. He's gotten two slowly, and now battling up against the BK. There's some backup here for him, so he wins that battle. But what about the percent? Remember, the fast cap is there, so Team Project already up to 81, and Hiro can just tank up the damage for days. Sanguine have got to find a way in, but now they have to do it without ballersteve. They've taken care of the IO.
With Hiro being able to reanimate on the point, though, they maintain control, and as long as they don't get staggered out here, they can keep it going with rKuhl managing to trade 1 kill. They just have to wait. They have to play a little bit slow. Don't take damage you don't need to, and then maybe you can collapse on one of the less tanky targets of the team. Finally, all the spawns should be there, and this soon at least should be the go button for Project.
Hiro steps out. Luna got a little bit of percent in there for Sanguine while chilling on the point. I say a little bit, but brought it up over 80% just off the back of that ability to capture without the presence. Shadow can't find his way in really either. Did put in some good damage trying to see if he could lock down this Ying, but can't find those shots either as overtime ticking in Sanguine's favor. But now the kill's coming. Hiro's gotten poison. Cool has dropped as well, so maybe Team Project can get back into this one as G-Bunny has established himself fully disengaged now. Or Sanguine and Project, hold on.
With G-Bunny being able to replace Hiro after he goes down, again, one of the things you always miss when you're now playing double tank, they're able to keep it going because the damage dealers just can't commit hard enough. And Poison might have overextended slightly on the left. If Shadow finding that opening is huge for them, you have to snowball on this map to make things work. And getting denied a snowball potential by Wadu there, not getting thrown off the edge, is going to open the door even further for them. They have to take these different high grounds, maybe split up, maybe just surround them, but right now controlling this torch is big because nobody can back up safely on the side of Sanguine.
This is a better push than last time, though, for Team Project, so they're already in a pretty good spot. Wadu making his presence known as he comes back out and might be able to catch Shadow, who does loop around the corner, get back towards safety. So this is a regroup now from Team Project. Saying a chance to find a pick, couldn't quite get one. Team Project should be able to regroup and heal.
And they thought they might be able to, but look at this. Cool literally going in behind them. If the team's not aggressive, though, he can get potentially completely caught out here. The rest of the team's completely isolated by G-Bunny. A lot of space made, and that pick could be the opener.
And that's what they're going to need. Shadow does get the kill on the Poison. Poison's been dying pretty early in these last couple of fights. I think that's down to Shadow just making it work. He gets Ghogert as well over near the carry corner. And now this is the positioning that Team Project need. They've got Sanguine all the way pushed back without that free high ground to try and fight from as well as the payload starts to slowly round that last corner. And Wadu can't step up. This is where he doesn't want that last little bit of hit all by himself. He could potentially end up in trouble trying to do all the tanking damage. And Poison gets a kill on the rKuhl, make it a double. He shuts down Hiro as well. What looked promising for Team Project might actually be getting stalled.
I think it was actually, and this sounds weird, but I think it was too much focus on the objective. Hiro actually had control up top and then gave it up to replace Cassie on the point. Imagine if he had held up there and pressured into the high ground. Don't give Poison that position. You don't give Poison a double kill. Sometimes you have to understand where the priorities have to be. When they have all those damages, you lock them out. You're going to be able to out-tank just a solo tank Khan on the objective if you deny them the high ground. Open up the Khan's weakness and make things just exponentially easier for your team to convert.
Still, Sanguine have the positioning in the carry corner. Hiro taking a lot more poke than he bargained for. And without G-Bunny and with overtime looming, things have just gotten much, much harder for Team Project in terms of being able to find this push. They're going to have to keep that overtime going basically perfectly from this point. And Ghogert is entrenched in his positioning, waiting on people to walk into his crosshairs. That's more than enough. Sanguine get their second defense in a row. But the problem now becomes, how do they win these mid-fights, Kresnik? These last two from Team Project, and I gotta say it, around Shadow, have looked impenetrable.
It's just so tough to stop the Androxus coming around the backside, and they don't really have the ultimates to stop it. Maybe they hold on to the overpowers just to stop the Androxus, but then you don't have the answer to the Ashe coming in. Buddy 0-8, but still turning heads. His assert dominance was really the big opener there. Although it was completely carried by Shadow saving his life from being overpowered. They have to have a better answer for this Andro other than either hit one hit scan shot, you have one chance to do it, and the overpower onto him, or spend potentially, hope he comes close enough to hit him with a vortex grip. All the answers really kind of lie on Wadu, and Shadow knows that. Shadow's going to play around that, keep his distance, and look, no one's stopping him. He's still going in again for free.
Another long flank, a cursed arm comes out too, and they don't even know where he is. A free double kill for Shadow. He does end up falling on the backside as well. Cool gets that kill to answer him back out, but Shadow has set his team up already with favorable positioning. They've got 44% here on the point as well, Kresnik. It's the same story again as Wadu. This time does get a kill into Hiro, but they are going to use the reanimate. He'll be right back.
which is interesting timing, I think. I think they just want to deny this cap time, or I thought so, but Hiro's waiting, going a different angle. Mr. Dominance comes in and opens things up for Shadow.
Shadow moves in, puts in the damage. Hiro gets the kill credit, but again, that's Androxus that's putting that into a favorable position. A lot of percent, though, earned by Sanguine in that time off the back of this Luna. They will finally be able to shut her down, but they've gotten Hiro and Rakata in favor of Sanguine. Those are 2 big kills again, and this is where Shadow, I feel like, can struggle. He doesn't have that same room to operate, and the percent now starting to build up for Sanguine, especially as kusqt and Shadow both go down.
And now they're going to be able to have Luna coming off of cooldown just now. It's kind of all on Hiro, but this King Bomb's bearing down on him.
And Hiro, the second he gets there, he goes right back where he came from. Poison gets in for damage, makes it back out with his life, gets topped up too. So what about G-Bunny? Both the tanks just walking into the killing field of Sanguine, and that's enough for victory. That is the snowball that this team's been looking for.
Yeah, it was a great attempt from Team Project, I think, to really break things down for Sanguine, but even after a terrible start to that mid for Sanguine, I would say, with the same weakness being exploited for the third time in a row,
yeah,
they do manage to turn it around again by just playing around the combination of sustain and damage, and I think Project can't let them have a draft like this again with all this healing and having the pseudo tank in the IO.
It was really, I mean, just look at it. He was, what, 18 and 8 or 15 and 8. He was almost all the kills with Shadow just now.
Yeah.
He did have plenty of good damage coming out from Rakata. I don't want to take that away from him, but in terms of making sure that someone couldn't get back around the corner, heal up again, and get right back into the fight, that was all Shadow for them. And a lot of the space was made by G-Bunny, but it felt like they were working twice as hard as Sanguine for half the return.
Yeah, and that's how it feels sometimes when you're playing double tank into triple DPS when they have the right characters, I feel. Triple DPS, it gets a lot harder when you have resource-intensive characters, but they just were full of resources to put into them. A Ying can heal themselves and heal everybody with Illusory Rift. IO denies people from having to capture the point. You can just leave that on and then spend your resources elsewhere. This abundance of things to put into their teammates that Sanguine had was what made it not feel like a triple DPS composition. It just felt like a standard composition that has 3 DPS's worth of damage.
And I think it's also worth mentioning how important that conversion that Sanguine got was when Ghogert was able to get kind of entrenched in that positioning, because instead of, sort of being up 3-2 for like 2 rounds in a row and having this cushion, that's in favor of Team Project perhaps in that spot, right? Or maybe even they have a chance to maybe close that game out. So I think that those kind of small misplays where they let that ground get secured on the opposite side and then they were able to get a successful conversion, that ends up hurting them a lot too.
Yeah, it was great by Sanguine to recognize that how far away the cart was and what they can get away with the snowball. Because they didn't do the thing where they run into spawn. They just held on the high ground, denied them, spammed them, chipped away at them, and burnt the resource, the health pool that was supposed to be Project's advantage on that map.
It'll be Stone Keep that's coming up here next, though, Krez. And Serpent Beach was back and forth action between these two top teams, so I can't imagine that Stone Keep is going to look any different. Let's get ready for those picks and bans. Is there anything in particular that you don't want to see make it through? I mean, that Androxus for Shadow was top picked and got top picked value. Was there anything else that you want to see maybe taken away?
I just want them to get rid of IO. I don't want them to let IO through. I think it's too impactful for Sanguine. You can't give them double tank, 3 DPS, and 2 supports. You can't let that happen. So I think maybe getting rid of that. And with Sanguine banning the Vivian, I think it gets a little bit easier. Last time, Project denied both of those characters, but Sanguine now are going to deny it from themselves, interestingly enough. Team Project now hopefully get rid of the IO, but bans actually end up the same from the first game.
Yeah, instead, Team Project going to ban away this Evie. They were worried about that on Serpent Beach. They're worried about it here again. And Sanguine could now very easily take that IO here in that first spot yet again, Kresnik, which is what has been the linchpin for this draft. But it looks like the call instead is to take that Androxus away from Shadow's hands. And I don't know that I can really disagree with it. I mean, he looked like a monster on that pick.
Yeah, and a lot of people on Sanguine can play it. You can give it to the controller players, or you can give it to Poison, who can be very far away with it. I think Poison plays it a little more harassing than the other side, but having the IO come up for Project, I think, in response is very solid. And Bomb King's also fantastic on Stone Keep, being able to lock down the keep, being able to pressure up top. There's just a lot opening up, I think, for Project with those picks.
Now, I don't know if you quite say that Stone Keep and Serpent Beach are the same, where like you really, really need that Luna there, because on Serpent Beach, when you're out there trying to cap that point, I mean, you are out in the open. It feels like you're down in this kill field. On Stone Keep, I feel like you can maybe get away a little bit better on it. Is the IO going to Team Project that big of a deal for Sanguine this time?
I think so. I think because if you force the fight in Keep, if you manage to keep the fight there, and you can just keep Luna outside, you can still force them out. If you end up being the church team too, if you're playing on the outside, then you put Luna on point, and now you can put both your tanks or all your resources into the doorways and deny them ways out. No matter what side of the mid-fight you're fighting on that you think your team's going to be better suited to, you can just zone out every single door or force them to leave the fight.
This does feel just like those picks and bans we saw from Game 1, right? Because the Con, Strix, Bomb King, and Io that we saw all happening in that last draft in favor of Sanguine that was working on Serpent Beach. Meanwhile, Sanguine, they've got the Terminus, the Ash, the Furia, and the Androxus. So far, this is looking, basically the same as what we saw happen back on map 1 for Serpent Beach, where Hiro was playing on that Terminus, and I think getting some fairly good results, maybe a little bit curious at times when he was using that reanimate, but I see why Sanguine are valued.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the same, I think, so far from both sides, just mirrored team-wise. 2 tanks coming from Sanguine is a shock to me, potentially. I wouldn't be surprised if this is something new they've been trying, if they do want to pull it out. Having that potential aggression from the tanks is something that they're not used to having, so it'd be an uncomfortable draft for them, I think, if they haven't been practicing it.
Yeah, I think it would be certainly different than what we'd come to Sanguine up until this point. And it looks like there might have been some issue with this. We're working on that right now. We'll be able to clarify for everybody here in just a moment, Kresnik. But on Stone Keep, we're having this conversation here already, where IO certainly can, I think, still get plenty of value, as you were talking about, if you can keep those fights kind of away from mid, either in the Keep or over towards church side, as you were saying. So I think that wherever this IO ends up going, or if she ends up getting banned, there's still a lot of conversation around prioritizing her.
Yeah, I think no matter what, if Project doesn't ban her right now, they need to get her, because I wouldn't be shocked if Sanguine first pick her. She's so critical to the draft that they do. But they want to just get rid of Victor and Vivian again. I understand that there's strong backlines that the controller players on Sanguine can play, but I feel like there's a lot of things the controller players on Sanguine can play. But they get lucky, I would say. They get Poison his Bomb King, which opens up that IO for Project if they want it.
That's true. They could potentially go IO Androxus even, right? And that's very scary.
That would be scary.
Project, right? I mean, and I don't see, why they necessarily would have to avoid that either. But they are going to go support Androxus, but they'll take the Grover instead of the IO. And this is curious to me. Maybe just hoping that Sanguine don't want it, or they've got a big plan to try and shut it down, but they're going to go with the Grover instead.
Yeah, I mean, Grover is solid for the team, especially if you're playing outside. He not only heals everybody on the church side, but he also heals everyone on the church side. The radius is pretty huge even after the nerf. The changes to the scaling of it ended up making it basically the same size. Still a lot of healing for the entire team. And with that Strix, that to me says I think they're going to be playing outside still. That's another backline that can shoot into the doorways that an axe is getting spammed into and burst a DPS from 100 to 0.
Well, this does feel like a Sanguine draft here, right? With the double support and a single tank, and then it's going to be the Tyra for damage alongside the Bomb King. And we do not see her very often here, Kresnik. What are Sanguine looking for here? Is this maybe to prevent them from grouping up, or what's the idea?
It's another tanky DPS with the Mercy Kill card. I'm assuming is what's going to be run. You can stack damage reduction in that build up to, I'm not sure what the diminishing returns are exactly, but it's somewhere around 30+% on that Tyra in a fight. Combine that with the lifesteal, you have a target that is almost impossible to dive, and that Ash has another threat that they can't really deal with.
So we're thinking kind of similar to how we sometimes see Buck played in these compositions, right? Where he's able to kind of sustain to get some tankiness. And as you said, just flat out reduction, not bad either. So let's see if that will be the case here for this Tyra. It is Stone Keep for game number 2. And Sanguine in a close one took game number 1 back on Serpent Beach. So this is going to be a pretty critical one just for momentum for the boys on Team Project here at this point. They can't let Sanguine get up to that stranglehold 2-0.
Yeah, they're going to have to, I think, stop them short for sure, because Sanguine are going to roll with the momentum if they manage to find it. And both supports, again, going Haven, they just love this hybrid tankiness build. Tyra is going to be very hard to pressure because of that Mercy kill she's running. All the healing. Sanguine, this draft is perfect for them, and I'm shocked Project gave it away. And right now, they're giving away all the space and keep to try to find an answer.
That's right. It's a big keep fight to start with. The stun lands onto the Androxus, but they don't quite have the shots. Poison only needs a couple tries, though, and Shadow falls for first blood. That's good work on the backup. I think it was the Luna stun that put him in trouble. Kus does end up getting a kill in response, but Project have already fallen entirely back, giving up 57% over to the side of Sanguine. This is a big fight for them to start things off, but now in comes the Barik. This should be the response from Project.
And as Sanguine tried to push, they just walked into the spam, and that's exactly what they expected to happen. With all the damage dealers and the tankiness being when the team is all together, when you isolate targets with that poke, that's going to be the weakness. That's going to open things up, and Project have found that, and they're exploiting it.
Yet again, this time it's rKuhl that falls victim to their grasp. They take care of the sniper relatively easily. Still, though, racking up some percent. They're at 84. That pulls Hiro back down. You can't let them get any more than this for free, but now it's back up to 90. Hiro can't afford to stay out because of the Bomb King zoning him out. Shadow gets a kill onto Wadu as well, so now the percent starting to move up in favor of Project, but they had to give up so much just to get here.
I want to say that Shadow was getting bullied by Luna that entire time. Every stun that Luna did went onto Shadow, and I got to feel for him, because you never know it's coming until it's too late. And Poison, it might be too late for him to get away. Bunny pushes. They're finally coming around to the point with Crossfire being used, but rKuhl still didn't find the kill and gets traded.
This is good. This is exactly what they were looking for here on the side of Project, right? To find some of these stacker kills and not let Sanguine back out to retouch. In fact, it's Team Project that turned around when really Sanguine were looking like the stronger team for most of that push. That last fight in particular, even with Shadow getting bullied, really set Team Project up nicely.
Sanguine really need to check their tempo, because they can't go that quickly. They need to be moving a lot closer together if they want to actually use their comp strengths and not walk into exactly what Project wants to do. They do end up killing both DPS, so they can take a lot more ground, but they shouldn't try to snowball too many more kills. If they go too far forward, they're just going to get poked out, surrounded by Shadow, rooted by the Grover, just like that, which plays right into Project's hands.
This could be trouble. That is a big stun. Everyone on Sanguine in some trouble now. Shadow capitalizes first, but Wadu right there to answer, make Shadow pay for it. The King Bomb could find some big value as all of Team Project are grouped up. He leans around the back, finds the stun, and breaks up this backline a bit, but Team Project undeterred get to Steve and Wadu got to take a seat as Team Project come out on top, and now they're pushing.
Great ultimate combo, and used so early that they have time to charge it if this fight goes long. Now, obviously, that's not what they want to have happen, but this long distance that Sanguine now have to fight in is going to play into Project. They have the poke. Shadow's already below them. He could flank around the side, but he reveals himself for a little bit more damage and won't be able to trade out. rKuhl goes down.
Yeah, can't quite help out there with rKuhl. Poison gets that kill, and Shadow has to fully fall back there as well. He is going to be able to heal up just a bit, but rKuhl getting that kill on the G-Bunny further shortens this out for them, or rather extends out how long they're going to have to play a little bit of defense at this point. Sanguine have done well on the defense side. Are you surprised all this comp's worked so far to keep Team Project at bay and maybe do a bit more? Poison gets this first shot to slow him down. Shadow falls as well. This stall started to look even better.
They played off their snowball really well, or at least they slowed down the snowball. That overpower being used when it did really open things up, and I'm surprised to see this Crossfire coming out with only 30 seconds left. They charged it pretty quickly, but if rKuhl gets traded and they are in a bad position, it's not going to get too much more from it, and that's a resource that they're going to want for fighting the next mid-fight.
We did get to see some of that sustain that you lauded, but this is a really effective zone. G-Bunny tossed back as well. They'd love to be able to get away with this, not even letting him have another touch, but rKuhl has a different thing in mind. Poison and Wadu both go down, so Project should be able to get essentially one more crack at this one. The stun comes out, though, pushes them out. They will get the contest, but it's not nearly as clean as they wanted. rKuhl was back up in there to capitalize on G-Bunny. The kill feed now lighten up as 3 kills come out in favor of Sanguine. They've got Shadow isolated in the back. They never really got to push again like they wanted.
Real unfortunate there for Bunny. I mentioned it earlier when I talked about Shadow getting bullied by Luna, but you don't know the stun is ready. You just walk up and you pray you don't see Luna wind up and go for you. And unfortunately for Bunny, there was a firebomb waiting. Nothing else he could really do to respond to that. That's the power again of having IO against certain characters. The stuns that are unpredictable, that pierce through different things, whether it be shields or defensive cooldowns, can really make you misunderstand how much you can get away with. You think, oh, I have this many resources, and then suddenly one goes away or you're immobile for 1 second, and the entire fight flips on its head. Sanguine buying items for sustain, a lot of Haven coming out, even from rKuhl, who has some diminishing returns from the stacking DR and that, so maybe not the same level of effectiveness it would have been otherwise, but Sanguine, even with losing it, they were happy how that last mid-fight went. It's going to start the same.
They have invested heavily into the Haven and resiliences as they drop down the Dome Shield early on. So King Bomb will be the response here from Poison if he can force his way in. And is heading right towards the point. Finds 2 big stuns onto the tanks. It shuts up to get rid of Cuss early. Hiro falls too. That is a big play for Poison to open this map back up a bit. And they get the clinching kill by taking care of Shadow on the backside as well. That was Wadu that did a good bit of work track him. And then he goes right to the back, able to find the Strix. What a team fight from Sanguine to open this up. That's exactly the way you write it up.
All the ults just get thrown into each other, but Wadu holds onto his overpower till the end, and that's what they need. Even the displacement gets them some more cap time they wouldn't have had otherwise. And Sanguine maintain this once the IO's back and in position. Wadu can even get aggressive if he wants to. They have a lot of space that Project needs to overcome. rKuhl with the rest of his team up top, and I think Project just have to fight towards the point and ignore rKuhl.
They gotta try and force their way in, but rKuhl's gonna come out and make that a lot harder for them with this ultimate usage. G-Bunny takes a ton of poke right at the start of it and can't seem to win the fight. Has the shoulder bash, that does take rKuhl out, but 99% and counting now for Sanguine as they've got Luna chilling. And that kill from G-Bunny onto rKuhl, still the most recent one at this point. Shadow comes in and takes care of Poison, which is nice. Now the percent's starting to build up here for Team Project as well, but undeterred is this Khan. He sets up for Steve to get rid of Shadow, but the percent's still going for Project as they control the center.
And now that Sanguine are respawning, they have the surround set up, but Project, if they have good focus fire, this round might not be what they want with damage coming into the right targets. Luna's going to force Hiro off the point, and Project all forced back, all low, and Sanguine just steal it away from them.
That's all that it takes. As you mentioned, yet again, Luna showing her value, Io showing her value as 2 more kills come in from Sanguine. It's so hard to contest. Poison gets rid of G-Bunny. This will create a little bit of space now, Kresnik, for Sanguine to start stepping forward and getting a bit aggressive so they can find a little bit of extra here on the back of that cap.
Poison, this is such a great place for Bomb King, pushing on Stone Keep. You play the corners so tightly as a tank, whether it's by the bush or up top on the railing. You try to play it so close, and Poison just completely destroys that. You can't play there anymore, and it's so hard for tanks to adapt. But he goes down to the Accursed Arm from Shadow, and it looks like Project found a foothold.
He at least made it a trade, right? Because he gets Ricotta there first, but now Shadow making it a little bit better than a trade. rKuhl and Wadu falling. This should be the full stall out in favor of Project now as G-Bunny gets a kill there as well. And that's what you were wondering about, right? Poison was so critical to that push that he does get the kill into Ricotta, but I just don't know if he can afford to get traded at this point. They're so reliant on his damage.
Yeah, and I don't think they can get rid of him. And look at this aggression right now in the backline from Bunny. So surprising he's willing to use the ult with this time left, but he's going to get traded out, spinning through the sky, be gone, gets rid of the assert dominance, and that could be it for Sanguine to start.
Great ultimate uses there from Ghogert that clears G-Bunny out, but the fight's still seeming to favor Project here at this point as Ricotta and Shadow fight a couple of kills. So it looks like G-Bunny's aggression has paid off for them for now, and may not have the assert dominance, but he opened up a ton of space. I mean, this is Sanguine's spawn that we're looking at this point. They're supposed to be on offense, and they can't even smell the payload from here.
At the very least, they forced out the Begun, and now potentially the Overpower, and they don't even find anything out of it, Finch.
No, they really have not gotten much here at all. Again, this fight still favoring Project. Ghogert does manage to get rid of Cuss. Poison finds the kill in the Shadow, so this should break that zone and allow Sanguine to start getting back on offense. G-Bunny and Ricotta have fallen at this point here too, but this is so backwards from where it's supposed to be. I mean, Sanguine are doing all this just to earn the right to get back to trying to push through this choke point. Just a question, did Team Project use a bit too much on the back of that fight? They still have the Whirlwind, they still have Flashbang, not that big of a deal, but they still got some good tools in their back pocket. Dome Shield there as well.
I was about to say I'm concerned about the Overpower, but with Shadow going down so early, that means it might be worth it if they can get to a 3-1 scoreline. All the poke is up still, stacking on top up top, and things are dangerous for them to peek on top right.
You are. That's all poison that's making that so hard for him. He's got rKuhl here with him as well. Good damage. Shadow comes out, head straight for the sky, but Tyra loves that. Able to rain in some damage for her. Can't quite out DPS Shadow, but he doesn't need to. They're just pushing the payload in. Finally, the touch comes through to try and force the overtime, but kusqt pays for it, as does rKuhl, and Sanguine get the push.
That ended up being almost best case for Sanguine with that fight going long, Wadu being able to brawl out. If that fight had remained long distance, that would have been awful for Wadu if he wasn't able to get any ult charge back. But now one of the most impactful ones in the entire game, regardless of what champions are in, Overpower is now at 63. Almost everything else that was spent is back or almost back. And Project used that the two of the ultimates that would have been able to hold back the aggression, the Accursed Arm and the Flashbang, both being unavailable. It's a lot of pressure on Hiro. How good could this Dome Shield possibly be to make up for this difference? If it's as good as the last round, then maybe it's winnable for Project, but there's no way Sanguine let Hiro just walk in like that again.
No, I mean, he got one over near Keep, I feel like, to start off that mid-fight, and Sanguine ended up still winning the fight. But this is a full flank. G-Bunny has found his way right to the back line. Goes for the Ying here first. Now ballersteve in trouble. I don't know that anyone recognized that this is going to be the play for Team Project. 39% built up already, and rKuhl has now dropped poison. Answers back because they stack up a little bit too much, but G-Bunny right back in. rKuhl gets rid of Ghogert, but poison still alive somehow, and this Bomb King gets a couple critical kills. But look at the percent, Kresnik. 70% already on the board for Project.
The success rate of Project's hard flanks is too high. I was going to say a fake number, but it's just too dang high for them for that to work out. They have to disengage, and the Dome Shield's in the way. This team is split. If they can kill that side before the fight actually happens, this is huge for Project.
This is big. They might not even give Sing another chance to find the touch. It was just Wadu that was on, buying them some time. G-Buddy shoulder bashes out to try and make sure the zone is set up, and there's no one else that can come in and find the touch at this point. So Team Project do capture now, can start pushing on this payload. But I can't believe it. It's as if Sanguine are setting up every time going, there's no way the flank's going to happen. And when it does happen, it's completely punishing.
They don't even turn around. Ghogert wasn't even really looking. The Master Riding is really paying dividends, I think, for them to get space here. And poison going down, we said how critical his damage is, and it's just as critical on the defense.
And these are good kills from Shadow, man. I know that they're getting the eye up, but the Androxus is kind of coming through every time, does have this looming threat on Team Project because Shadow plays the Androxus so well. A little bit over, or right near halfway, is Team Project at this point, but rKuhl gets rid of rKuhl. That might be enough. Already you can see the defensive positioning starting to come out from Team Project, so they'll fall back a bit more.
And Sanguine, I find it interesting. We're learning a little bit more about their ult priorities and how they're willing to spend things to snowball as an Overpower in a situation that purely would have gotten them a little bit further up the map is spent. It's not enough with a Whirlwind, Accursed Arm, and Flashbang all getting thrown out by Project.
The Team Project recognize that this might be their moment, and they do get 2 big kills, but losing Shadow on the back of it and G-Bunny really hurts. I don't think that was enough. If you don't get poisoned, then I don't know if it was worth. rKuhl answers back finally with a nice quick tag, and that does leave Wadu stuck out in the open. He has to fully fall back, so maybe Team Project can get a bit more on the back of those ultimates than initially it looked.
And the Root's going to make sure that happens with Steve going down. You can see how strong the Root is, too, with Khan also getting trapped on the way in. They're getting flanked by Tyra. They have to deal with her. Either go forward or back up. Project have 2 decisions, but they don't need to because rKuhl just gives his life away.
Yeah, rKuhl turns around and finds that shot, so that forces Wadu to go in aggressively. He gets right to rKuhl. It takes the Strix out of the equation. Poison has the damage to shut down Hiro as well. Yet again, what looked like a nightmare and disaster as Poison walks the tightrope, stays on the map somehow, does get shut down by kusqt, but this has still been what a good defense from Sanguine.
You know, I think I'm starting to understand the first pick BK, because Poison is just commanding this match for Sanguine, making these defenses, I think, possible with these miracles. They lose 2 people, Poison trades 3 back almost every time for Project, and I don't know what the answer is from Project. They need to find a way to pick him off first. Poison's just playing so careful around all these corners.
Team Project have been willing to expend the resources at weird times, but there's too many priority targets got to get rid of. They got to make sure they're getting the poison first. They go for Ghogert this time, and they do take care of the Ying, and rKuhl able to reposition, so that's a big deal. They'll have plenty to work with for this next push. Wadu falls as well. Poison out of there. Maybe Project can convert this payload after all with those deaths coming through. They've got the payload creeping around. That's going to force Sanguine to dive out and try and find some kind of touch to buy themselves a little bit more time, but who will it be? Poison, the second that he steps out, he gets clipped and sent all the way back to base the hard way. Wadu does come out and find the touch, and Ghogert gets the kill in the shadow there that we just saw as well. So maybe Sanguine can hold on after all.
And this is, they use the Illusory Rift, and this is where Luna's gonna feel so annoying right on the objective. Even bought enough time for Wadu, and Bunny just steps just out of the range in the tiniest corner, and Sanguine hold on.
Well, the overtime had been built up at that point, Kresnik, a lot, so that's really all that it takes. G-Bunny off it for a little bit, and Sanguine hold on. So now they come to this mid-fight, kind of playing with house money, right? Because they can defend it and still have a chance to defend the payload if they have to, if they end up losing it.
Well, I think I know exactly what's going to happen on this mid-fight, Finch. I think Team Project go into hard flank, and they're going to wipe Sanguine. Yeah, they will not turn around. They need to play on 10-10. They need to up the stick sensitivity, because clearly something is going wrong on these flanks every single time. Turn around, get a chance to check behind. Master Riding is going to come into effect for Project again, as here they come. And look, everyone's in banana. It looks like rKuhl is finally watching, and this is a much better start for Sanguine.
It's the long flank though from Shadow. ballersteve already got rKuhl. Yes, and the Accursed Arm gets next to nothing. So this is looking better for Sanguine perhaps, but Shadow still gets to Ghogert. Those were some sick shots that he weaved in. The Begone does manage to push back a couple members as Ghogert and Poison have been taken off the map here at this point. But what about ballersteve? He's been left trying to deal all alone with Shadow and can't quite do that either. So Team Project somehow turned that back around. It looked like Sanguine defended for a moment, but that fight came up all Project.
And they're going to be able to hold on if they push forward and dismount people in banana. Looks like both are down already, with rKuhl watching this, but this King Bomb trading into the Assert Dominance, huge in the back. Bunny stuns 4.
Bunny does stun 4, but can they find some kills off the back of it? That's all that they needed. The capture comes through. It's 3-3, and now that they're stepping forward to the push, somehow G-Bunny gets back out of there as well. I don't know if that was part of the play. They might have given up on him at that point. Poison does eventually end up making him pay, but Shadow trades it, costs it him life as well as rKuhl steps forward and shuts him down, but Project still getting a decent push on the back of this.
So I just want to make a note about off-tank stat lines. Last game, Bunny went 0-10. Rough game, but look at what he just did. That accounted for nothing in the KDA column whatsoever. But he was all over their entire team. Yes, I'm Bunny's friend and I'm defending him, but off-tanks are doing plays like that, and it never shows up. It's so hard to judge a tank, but Bunny just makes so much room behind the team.
You're right. I mean, basically that entire capture happens because of what G-Bunny was able to do. Ghogert, though, does find himself a double, finishing off a couple of kills. Steve, again, has been left alone in the back line. rKuhl doing some of the dive work. G-Bunny there as well. So with those 3 members down, a little bit of extra time bought now for Team Project. I said saying we're playing with house money. They'd have this chance to play defense and maybe another mid-fight, but Team Project aren't going to give them that chance.
No, Team Project's going to try to snowball this as hard as possible, but Poison is going to make it almost impossible at the top. But Poison, again, pushes too far forward right into rKuhl's sightline.
That's a huge kill for rKuhl. Poison really has been that last bit that's been making the miracle plays to keep them in it, and they've taken him out for a little bit now, but Shadow can't afford to stay forward. He has to fall back a bit, but Hiro can. He's got a minute on the clock, and he's stepping forward, confident as ever. Shadow wants to use that space, but he gets pushed back as well. It's a good pick that Wadu finds, but Hiro is still here. How have no one been able to touch this Barik this whole time and keeping the payload right at their front doorstep? Now finally someone comes down, but even Poison can't get the kill. They will eventually claim that Barik.
The card does move pretty far forward, and as long as Project can get this refight fast enough, it's going to be really hard for Sanguine. The only reason they held on last time was because Luna bought an unreal amount of time in front. But Bunny getting staggered out here potentially with that King Bomb, with that Grumpy Bomb, excuse me, will make it a lot harder. Still, they push so fast that there's enough time for one more fight. If Project want to expend the resources, Assert Dominance and Dome Shield will be available, but the snowballs just keep coming.
But it gets a lot harder if they end up losing rKuhl there. Wadu set that up, and rKuhl knocked it back down, even able to come to the back, find this Grover all alone as well. That's huge. That should put a stop to this and get us back to that mid fight as we were expecting. Successful defense there for Sanguine. So they were close, probably a little closer than they were expecting, but they're going to come in with 4 ultimates charged and ready, and Kuhl's right on the back foot too.
Yeah, and looking at these damage charts, I don't think I've appreciated how much damage... We know how much damage rKuht's doing. He's all over it, but I don't think we've really appreciated how much damage that Tyra's doing, just staying alive the whole time. And this is that assert dominance, booping them all back. Look at those health bars. But the team is just too far away to make anything happen. The chain CC almost takes him down, but the assert dominance lasts just long enough to get Bunny out. But rKuhl, as I was saying, always brawling out 152k on a relatively medium-range character because he can just live so long in every situation. The DR stacking up constantly to keep him alive. A lot of characters, a lot of everyone almost fully bought out. Overpower doesn't connect for Sanguine.
It hasn't felt like it, but this has been a 21-minute match here so far, Kresnik. That means, as you said, we are getting towards the end of that itemization here at this point in Project. The ones that are going to come out on top. Another flank farm. I don't think that the Bomb King was looking to run right back into that. So Poison gets traded out for Shadow. Hard to tell who that favors. Probably Team Project. I have to worry about Poison for a little bit. And they've got 42% to go alongside that as well. And pretty severe center control. But Ghogert gets a big kill on the G-Bunny. That's going to buy the time Sanguine need to get back out.
Not having Luna on the point at the start is going to make it so tough, though, because if Project snowball this and win, they don't have a chance for a retake. It's do or die now for Sanguine.
And Shadow finds 2 kills, still has the accursed orb, but Poison shuts it down. Almost no value comes out from that ulti, but Hiro all the while has just been chilling on the point. They're going to send the Grover in first. Wadu was there. They'll shut him down nicely. Staggered 84%. It's someone from Sanguine has to rush out and try and find the touch, but Hiro is there with backup from rKuht. They find the double kill. Project get the victory, and we're 1-1.
That was a really, really rough misplay by Wadu at the end there. He's shielding in front of the turret, but because the turret's hitting him, he can't get passive healing. And Barik's just staring at him. Hiro knows he's there in the corner. All he does is delay 20%. He could have died and maybe had a chance to be in the retake with his team.
It's a good point, right? Almost like he self-staggered himself in a situation where he was never going to be able to really contribute much value otherwise. So Wadu does end up going down in a hard-fought one there for Sanguine. Poison turning in 26 kills in that effort, and it still wasn't enough. But really, there were times where rKuht was just lighting it up, man, on this Strix. If anyone came into his range, he was landing the shots.
Oh yeah, he was point-blank quickscoping, and that's always been the strength of Strix from day one. Being able to point-blank someone for 1,800 damage is insane and really messes with the internal mindset of how much someone can get away with. And it also kind of deals with this double healer in a way, too. If you're getting bursted that hard, that fast, that team on Sanguine doesn't have burst healing. They have none at all. Ying going Focusing Lens removes that 700 burst, only comes down to the illusion heals and the little bit that Io can do. It makes it so much easier for Project to finish off their kills.
And I feel like there were at least 2 or 3 times where this is what rKuht was able to do, exactly like that replay where he was getting up close and personal to the back line. I feel like a lot of it was time spent on that IO, doing some kind of flanker dive from this Strix. But either way, he caught him out 2 or 3 times. It was great work from rKuht. Obviously great work from Shadow as well on this Androxus. He's played it really, really well all set too. And now we found ourselves in this 1-1 where the set's living up exactly the way that we would have thought it would, right? These are the 2 that we were talking about vying for that top spot. You can see why it's so close.
Yeah, and I gotta say, after this map, I'm excited for Project's chances because I feel like Project just beat almost a dream draft for Sanguine. Sanguine, they win because they're so good at these hybrid comps when everyone's able to do a little bit of everything. And Project came in with a comp that I thought would struggle against it and had great plays and clutched it out in the end with just superior ult usage, I think, in the final fight.
I think that's exactly what it was. It went all the way down to 3-3, and it was pretty close on that fight there, too. So it's hard exactly to say who has the edge going forward. All I know is it's going to be some good Paladins. So give us a couple minutes. We're getting ready for that next map, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back to the PPC. We're in North America watching 2 of the best go at it. And so far, Kresnik, this set has absolutely delivered. I mean, you kind of said it yourself there in that last match, right? Perhaps a dream draft that Team Project was able to overcome and find that win on Stone Keeps. When we go into map number 3, and you're kind of wondering in the back of your head now, do Team Project have to worry? It seems like they've been able to answer the scariest draft.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that they are, because Io, I felt like, has almost been this insurmountable hill for a lot of teams to overcome. But Project found the way around it. They managed to put enough pressure on where Steve couldn't always put Luna on the point, and that kind of mitigates the advantage almost entirely. Io's healing isn't as strong as some of the other healers, so getting rid of that makes it significantly harder for Io to keep her team up, even with the support of the Ying.
That's right, they had the Ying there too, and I wonder if that was part, a little bit of what hurt them. I mean, you kind of mentioned it, Ying and the Io both not maybe the best at healing you right away. It's a little bit more over time, and that might have hurt them towards the tail end, But we're moving on to Bright Marsh now. Sanguine going to be in that first pick spot, banning away the Inara. I'm wondering if we're going to see that Io come through one more time here for Sanguine, or if Team Project at this point are comfortable just letting them have it.
This is a map where it's not as good. It's still strong. Io's going to be strong on any map, but just having Luna in the middle of the point when the fight is so close, it's not really as impactful. You can turn and burn it just a little bit quicker. So not as important to get, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them still pick it up just to have that level of comfort. Androxus taken by Sanguine, take it away from Shadow. Yeah. This could be on basically anybody on the team, so it's a great flexible start. But giving up Bomb King after how he performed, I'm not sure if that's going to be worth it.
It's kind of like both teams have taken each other's top DPS, right? The Andro away from Shadow, and now the BK away from Poison on the side of Team Project. We'll see how well they do in each other's hands. They're going to pair that BK with the Grover, who I think looks great on this map, really just about everywhere. Whirlwind's always awesome. Some stuns available in there, too. I think that so far, these top two make a ton of sense for me for Team Project, but Sanguine are going to get that IO again. It's just a question of are they going to be able to find that value.
And this is two teams that I think have figured things out, because this seems very flowcharty. They have their priority carry pick they get early, and then they get the things they want after. Grover, Barik for Team Project, Khan, Io for Sanguine.
Well, there's your
Raum is very interesting to me. Teams have kind of fallen off of Raum because people don't like having this character that's kind of an ult battery, just giving away all this charge to other people. There's no deployable shield to say, if you shoot me, you're not going to get anything. There's no stopping that. If you shoot that Raum, you are getting ult no matter what, and that's his main thing to sustain. Do you have better ults than the enemy team? If they have better ults than you, having a Raum is almost a liability.
Well, they're going to be the Talus coming through alongside the Jenos here for Sanguine. So they're still going with just that one front line here in the Khan, and then the Io and the Jenos is that double support. So this is still the strat that we normally see here from Sanguine, but the Talus, a bit of a different look in terms of the DPS for them.
Yeah, and Strix for the last pick from Team Project, that's risky, I feel, into Talus and Androxus. They can do a lot of pressure with this hit scan, making it a little harder for Strix to run away. With the consistent damage, you're going to see those numbers, be able to track them, find where he is, but they want to go with it. Strix on Bright Marsh, quickscope potential could be high. It's just a lot of pressure on rKuhl to live through these flankers.
And there's two of them, as you already mentioned. You do a great job getting back there for this Strix, but clearly comfortable if he's going to take it with that 10th pick overall. So it's on to Bright Marsh. We go for, I think, what could be a really telling game number 3 here, Kreslik, because game 1, it's going the way of Sanguine. Game 2 is the big bounce back against potentially a perfect Sanguine composition on the side of Team Project. So now with this game 3, who re-grabs that momentum? Who goes into that 4th map potentially ahead? And is Raum for G-Bunny actually being overlooked, or is everyone right to kind of be leaving it by the wayside? We'll find it all out.
And I want to see who he's going to actually pressure. I'm assuming he's just going to walk at Steve all game, because there's really no one else that he wants to be in front of. Stay away from the Jenos so you don't get gripped, and everybody else just leaves. But right now, aggressive on the right with the Bomb King for the opener, but already being slowed down in the sky by Poison.
And rKuhl played it patiently, was able to find first blood. They get rid of Ghogert early on and take him out. So now they can start getting aggressive. Shadow just walking down Wadu, blows him up as well. That's a great way for this fight to get started off. Now, Sanguine did get some early percent on the back of Luna, but Team Project now the ones racking it up. They're at 51%.
Yeah, Wadu may be a little too used to having Bomb King on his team. A little bit too friendly to the enemy, too close for that Bomb King to be avoided, I would say, locking down that area. Bomb King's such a strong counter to Khan. Wadu's going to have to play around that a little harder as the game goes forward. But for now, they get pushed off. Luna caps, but overextension on the back opens things up for Project.
Poison not looking quite as strong on the Androxus as he did on the BK. He ends up falling to rKuhl, but Ghogert, when he gets to be in the fight, apparently does a good amount of work. Gets rid of rKuhl and Kus. That's a lot of the backline taken out for Sanguine. Going to make life a lot easier, and they could potentially stall out Hiro, just finally sending him back to base. Ghogert with another kill, so clearly having the Talus up helps a lot, as now it's Sanguine racking up percent.
The fact that rKuhl had to no-scope the Talus at point-blank range makes me kind of confident that, yes, Talus is going to be very hard for this Team Project draft to deal with. It's going to come down to if the Grover's there or not. They need that CC, because otherwise Ghogert will just run over them with the overcharge and the reset from inner strength. Aggression from the King Bombs might open the door for Project to defend.
Yeah, they're willing to commit that ultimate here as part of this defense. It does end up working, as he does find a little bit of damage, but not quite the kills I got to imagine they want. They end up losing Cuss for it too, though Wadu trades out. And without Wadu, I don't know how much more pushing they want, as that was a pretty close through time and space, though it doesn't quite hit.
A very bold through time and space, I would say. Enthusiastic from Cool, but doesn't find much, if anything. And Bunny, in the back on the supports, he's going to have to do this all game. No one's turning to help out Cool at all, and Bunny stays alive in the back.
Yeah, did you see how long Cool stayed alive there? How much time does he have to buy as the ultimate comes out from G-Bunny as well? Does find a stun to step in, but there was no help coming for Cool. He did die in that backline push as Sanguine, despite getting that cap, have stalled out here a bit. There's a lot of resource that Project been willing to use. The overpower comes out too from Sanguine. That does pull one back in. Cool, Ghogert, and Steve all finding kills. They've seen Team Project back, and this is the push they've been looking for.
I'm pretty sure Wadu pulled his pinky finger. He was barely peeking around that corner from where Wadu was standing, but apparently it was just enough to get that overpower. And this is such a tough map to deny the snowball on, but there's not a lot of poke from Sanguine. Project can play very safe and still get some respectable damage in from their team between having Strix, Grover, and Bomb King. They can do a lot of damage, but they have to commit their tanks into this double flanker Jenos to stop the cart.
I like that ultimate idea. Very nearly found a ton of value. Still got someone clipped in the back, but not quite what he was looking for. But I think you could be a little bit free with those Jenos ultimates and maybe find something big there with them, as Sanguine still have time to group up and make the play. Ghogert going to step in first, find plenty of damage, then get back out safely. This is exactly what you're picking Talus for as they regroup for another push.
And they actually, if they had held on to that through time and space, they might have been able to do the Talus-Jenos combo. It's hard to do, but it can pay dividends if it works out. But Cool. Binary Star does decent poke damage, but not so decent where you're trading into a Strix. Sanguine have to back off and reset just for a bit for now. Cool might be back in time, but I'm not sure what they're going to spend between just having true power and be gone.
Yeah, this is a risky push if they choose to step into it. It's not going to be a heavy commit, I would doubt. Shadow, or not Shadow, I'm so used to calling the Androxus Shadow, it's Poison that goes up top. Wadu takes care of Shadow and actually pulls one more member back in. I think that was Hiro on the Barik, and they do get the Barik to try and commit some resources as well, but he ends up dropping. rKuhl trades Wadu back out, but with the Luna there, they can still slowly push during overtime. Maybe Poison could turn this around for Sanguine after all. They get to the backline, that successful push, because G-Bunny wasn't there. It's 2-0.
Classic Raum. Classic Raum. The fight happens, we're like, oh my god, it's so close. It ends anticlimactically, and you turn, and Raum is just hobbling in the back line, struggling to get back to the objective. Poison getting up into the spawn there was huge. You have to pay attention to the flank when you're against an Androxus. He has so much freedom, and you can't give it to him. You have to make him feel choked out and not able to get away with more or less whatever. Shadow's doing great in the damage charts with rKuhl after him, but this binary star Jenos from Cool is actually doing a phenomenal job. I want to see this loadout. I doubt it's the jumpy Jenos from Cool pulling out the binary star. I'm assuming it's just going to be heal cooldown, but 35% pure self-sustain from Cool. Going to try to live a little bit more, but against a pokey composition, I can see this falling off hardcore once we get into the late.
Could potentially be some trouble there for him. We'll keep our eye on how that goes. But so far right now, it is working. They're up 2-0. They're all kind of grouping up on the backside, not near those apartments, just letting Luna try and get a little bit of free percent if she can. Another big ultimate from Cool, and it finds a priority target in rKuhl, taking him out in the background. And look at it, it's the go button for all of Sang when they're ready to start surging forward now. I think that King Bomb might have been enough to try and push them back. Hiro actually gets the kill onto Ghogert from it as Poison Pulley falls back. But they're happy with this trade. Look how much percent Luna earned for the squad, 72%, as Steve takes care of G-Bunny as well.
You see the weakness there. Hiro throws himself onto point, takes almost all of his health and damage. What does he gain?
What?
He takes away 30% from Sanguine. 0 on the board for Project because of that. And it lets Ghogert run all over them. The opening of that through time and space was just insurmountable for Project. You can't lose one of your damage dealers that early when both of your tanks don't really do a lot of damage. Raum, he does damage over time, but in a fight, healing is just going to outpace him every single time.
And what's so big about it is that it's so low committal, right? If the Jenos doesn't get that kill there, what have they really sacrificed? Not a ton.
Nothing.
But in terms of, it is low risk, high reward, right? That's the exact kind of play you want to take. G-Buddy's been caught by the Void Grip way in the back, so he'll fall too. But this defense still favoring Project, I'd say for now. The push probably entirely coming from Luna up until then. And the Project have finally pushed Sanguine back and earned some space.
Yeah, that was so tough for Project to refight if they had wanted to, even with that initial death. The fact that Luna was on the point and Hiro throwing away, all he does is deny a little bit of time. Cursed Arm, back in from Poison right now, does open the door for them. And look at the backline. Wadu walks straight in onto Hiro on the cart.
They know who they want. They really wanted to get rKuhl if they could, but Poison couldn't get it. Instead, it's rKuhl that finds the kill, sends Poison back. And that means they can't find much. Even Wadu had to start considering retreating there at that point. He has fallen back just a bit from the aggressive position that he had earlier, but you can tell how important these opening picks are for Sanguine. They get one on the G-Bunny, and that's when they start to get aggressive. Last time it was the ultimate out from Jenos. Now it's G-Bunny setting it up, and the trades now start to look favorable, but Shadow has decent positioning. Maybe he can turn things around after all, but now he's stuck. What was decent positioning has turned into a coffin as he gets flanked and surrounded. Nothing the Barik can do here either to buy much time as Hiro ends up falling, and Sanguine off the back of the initial pick, snowball over.
Well, you just saw an absolute 100% team kill by Shadow onto rKuhl. He fed so much damage into that reversal. He fed like 2 tanks worth of damage into that reversal, I feel, more or less, letting that happen. Poison has to disengage, not willing to eat the reversal this time with Shadow. And they're kind of stuck on the ground. Time and Space connects again onto Kus. And the King Bomb, they want to end this game.
They're trying to take care of it. Shadow does get rid of Wadu, though, so that Team Project can stall this push from Sanguine here a bit more. They know they got to buy themselves some time. The Talus does blink back, but he gets rid of Shadow here yet again. Doesn't matter, though. Project do enough for the successful defense, so we'll be back to one more mid-fight where Project will have fast cap on their side.
The timing of Wadu's death is so important in every single push. If you lose your tank, especially with this composition, who replaces him? Maybe Luna, but if Luna is in front of everybody, they know that's who they have to focus down, and then it's just go down the list from then. Bread, milk, eggs, straight down the list, and you can make it end immediately because no one can live long enough on the objective. And this is actually, seeing this build, it's almost a little concerning to me. The damage is insane for Ghogert and Jenos. Binary Star being run by him, huge up to his damage. But those are both characters whose decks rely on lifesteal. The rKuhl is buying life rip, and he has a ton of lifesteal and sustain in his deck. Ghogert has Primeval Might 4. Now that Cauterized 3s are up for rKuhl and getting close to being up for Bunny and Shadow, this is a little bit harder for Sanguine. They have more ultimates, so they need to end this game now, I think, if they really want a shot to control it.
And instead, rKuhl takes care of Ghogert early on. That's the exact opposite, I got to imagine, of what Sanguine needed. This fight in particular was so important for them to win, and instead, Steve now shut down. The fast cap means Project are just racking up the percent at this point, too. Poison steps forward looking for G-Bunny. Can't quite find that, though. In fact, it's Poison that ends up falling. This first fight has all Team Project.
They're getting collapsed on here with Shadow coming in at the very end to try to save things, but Ghogert is just shooting them as they walk straight through. It's just a shooting gallery for Ghogert here on the side.
Yeah, that's Wadu that really sets up for it. He moves in, forces everyone out from that central room into the waiting clutches of Ghogert on this Talus. So now it's in the overtime as Team Project brought it all the way to 99%, but that's enough. Sanguine should be able to start working on a little bit of percent of their own, but it's so difficult for them to win from this point here, Kresnik. They've got to do it all in this one push.
And Project has no ultimates. They might have a chance to do it, but Shadow with a Poppy sends rKuhl flying off the side, and they get locked into a 5v4.
That's huge. Hiro's going to dash in and try and set up. He takes a ton of poke, has to dip back out, and the Accursed Arm gets nothing as Shadow cuts him down. This is the fight that Project need. The overtime now starting to tick, but this should belong to Team Project. And you talked about it going into that fight, how maybe if this game gets stretched out, that wouldn't be great for Sanguine. I feel like they really needed that mid-fight.
I agree. I think you're going to see the Jenos and the Talus fall off significantly as time goes on. Bomb King and Strix don't really need anything. They're going to be good from the start to the end, so I think they're going to kind of just take over this game. And you can already see it in that last fight. Who took over? Bomb King and Strix. Once they finally got the retake with Cauterized 3 up for rKuhl, things a lot easier, but they're going to keep it held down. The tank's very far ahead of the DPS, and that split could be the opening Sanguine need.
Sanguine are going to step forward, see if maybe they can lock down G-Bunny, but that is one of the things that makes Raum so strong. It's so hard to burn him down. Cool gets the kill into Hiro. It just cost them Ghogert to make that happen. Shadow continuing to be a nightmare, though, on the BK this round. Finds a kill of his own, but Cool now back gets the answer. Begone. I don't know if that quite gets the value Steve was looking for, but Kill gets a double either way. Is this Jenos DPS or support? I can't quite tell as he continues to light up the kill feed.
With Binary Star, Jenos does basically Leon damage. He more or less does with a much larger clip. So it's kind of undervalued, I think, damage-wise, but you lose out on Luminary, which could help them scale a little bit better as the game goes on. Tons of damage into this Raum, burns straight through that soul armor, but the root could get him trapped out as this time and space finds nothing.
Not quite what he was looking for. I think he might have got a little bit of damage, but definitely not the kills. And that lights everything up there in favor of Team Project. 2 for rKuhl, 1 for G-Bunny as well, though he has to trade to make that kill happen. But rKuhl's right there on the payload. The rest of Team Project can continue to push, especially with Poison now down as well. But rKuhl has been caught out, thrown back to the Wolves. But how does he live through all of that? The damage wasn't there, so Sanguine had to fall back even more, and they've given up some of that high ground position.
It's this Bomb King Khan matchup that made them lose it. Just BK being in the way. Khan can't do anything into a Bomb King that's being played well, and I think Shadow's playing it to a T. With Khan going down, who are they going to throw at the point? It has to be Luna, and Luna's not going to last long.
And this is the backside of how important that mid-fight was. This is even more important, that now it's going to be a 3-3 on this next mid-fight. They're not going to get that second time across. This could be a nightmare for Sanguine, potentially, Krez.
I was just trying to think about the priorities of how Sanguine can hold this, or how Sanguine hold this. All right, put Luna on the point, and then maybe you throw Talus in just to buy a little bit more time, or just let them cap. I guess
Yep,
that's fine. They only have most of their ults. We'll see what they have. It's 2 ults from the supports are being spent by Sanguine, and you can see the Strix skyrocketing up. I think a little bit in damage above the Talus now. Only those 2 have broken 6 digits, but again, this build now that cauterized 3s are going to be way more common on the people that are going to be diving. Plus, I think G-Bunny's kind of woken up a little bit in his priorities, pressuring Io a lot more, making the game a lot easier for Hiro. It just makes it even easier for Shadow and rKuhl to pop off.
5 on Project come apartment side. It's really just Cool there, and he gets forced out almost entirely by himself. The King Bomb coming out, going right for Wadu, does find the stun, but not the kill. In fact, it's favoring Sanguine. They got the first 2 and a third on the Shadow as well. They get nothing out of all those ultimates we were lauding coming in. It's 45% on the board for Team Project, and Hiro is still standing tall on the point, but how long can that last? Poison comes in, shuts him down, and Sanguine have control.
There was just a mismatch in ultimate positioning there. Raum's ultimate went into the far back line, and the King Bomb went just for the Khan. That wasn't enough, but the overpower doesn't connect. That could have made this a 1 fight for Sanguine, and now they have to work for it.
We're going to have to try and fight without that critical tool, and the Dome Shield still here for Hiro. So a question of how much value that he can find from that. He tries to step in, still has not yet dropped that Dome Shield, and 90% is racked up for Sanguine. Wadu goes down, though, that Shadow that weaved in the bombs. But Ghogert, how does he get to the back line and find the kill into rKuhl? That's so much of the damage was on that Strix, so maybe things looking a bit better for Sanguine, but the center controlled by Team Project. Steve ends up falling as well. Just a turnaround kill into Poison, and this ultimate from rKuhl, it's just a crapshoot, so they don't get that. And now maybe Project can shut it down because the Dome Shield was waiting all this time to come out. 99 to 96%, and rKuhl finds another kill. Shadow gets the second, and that's it. Sanguine can't get it done here, Krez. Team Project, hold on, and they're going to win on Bright Marsh.
Sanguine had the perfect chance to play for Chaos there, and they just didn't. They had people on the side. Poison went just a little bit too early, got rooted, instantly deleted, and suddenly Sanguine's chance to force that Dome Shield a little bit earlier, just completely fall to the wayside. Maybe they wait for Wadu and go in together, burn Hiro before he can get it off, but Poison just a little bit overzealous. Things slip out of their fingers.
And it feels like that match has become kind of a microcosm for the whole set, where Sanguine would have liked to just storm over them and won everything really quickly, but Project are playing things a lot slower, stalling these games out here a bit more successfully. And it's worked, man. This strat from Cool, the first couple of fights worked out, but the longer the game went, the less that I think Jenos could function as a second damage source for them, and instead they needed him to be healed.
He still did a decent amount of damage as the game went on, 105k, but both DPSs that they were 20k over in the start did overtake them eventually, both from the side of Project. I gotta say, that sustain really paid off. That Jenos tanked 90, only 1,000 less damage than Barik. That's saying something with the amount that he was able to face tank, but that was mostly at the start of the game, and he wasn't able to do the same thing near the end.
And I think it made sense for their strategy, right? Because rKuhl was not getting a lot of help in the back. We started to notice the longer that game went on. So I think that it was about giving him some extra time, just by time for himself as well. But this just goes to show how close they were. It was 3-0 at one point for Sanguine, and they just couldn't win it. It was 4 in a row from Project to close that game out. Sanguine were right on the doorstep.
Yeah, they were so close to doing it, but I think just disconnect on contesting there near the end. I think they kept putting Luna near the team to stop the aggression, but that's not really going to stop Raum. The stun's going to be used too early. It's not really going to stop the Bomb King as well, because he can poppy himself away just at the right time. So maybe they could have gone a little bit more forward, drop Luna, and then back up to deal with the aggression. Deny 30%. That fight at the very end of the game suddenly becomes so much less dire. They're not just grasping for straws to actually keep themselves a hold.
Well, Brightmarsh was big in terms of who would grab the momentum, and it goes in favor of Team Project. You might have thought Sanguine, with the way they started the set out, with the way they started on Brightmarsh, but they could not end up closing it out. So on to Ascension Peak that we end up going, and it's going to be Team Project up 2-1. So talk to me a bit about how things might change on Ascension Peak here, Kresnik, because this is such an open area where we see pushes stall out all the time. I feel like all that favors Team Project in the way they like to play.
I'll tell you one thing that for sure won't change. These long mid-fights. Ascension is cursed for being one of the longest mid-fight maps in the game because of how easy it is to contest. Making it even easier to contest after what they just went through on those hellish contest points. We're going to see some long fights between Project and Sanguine for sure, with how close these games have been back and forth. And I'm kind of surprised that the bans remain exactly the same, but I guess both teams had potentials to win any game. They must feel like the drafts are solid. It just comes down to the execution.
Sure.
I don't think I disagree with them. I do think it's going to be a little more poke heavy from Sanguine. They're definitely not going to go for that Talus Androxus style. Again, I think they're going to be pulling out some more distance. Victor Vivian not available, but I mean, Beyond, Strix, Tyra, any of those characters that can do that long-range poke, I think are going to be much higher on Sanguine's priority list.
Breath to take a life.
Well, Sanguine thought that the Grover was pretty critical to what Team Project had going, so they banned that one out. They'll pick up the Strix for Rakata right away, and he has been a nightmare on this pick. I'm right there with them. But that means Sanguine could potentially go something like Andro Io, maybe, to try and keep that out of their hands. It is going to be the Andro they pick up right away. So I understand when to get the Strixer for Rakata, but maybe they give up a little too much here, Krez. Oh, it'll be the Jenos.
Yeah, I think that is surprising to let the Io through, but anything can really contest this point, so maybe not the end of the world. This point is so huge. The Luna isn't as effective. What really is big here is that Evie has not been banned and could be grabbed by Project right here. Rakata's going to be playing Strix. If they give Shadow an Evie, even in the face of an Andro who's going to trade into it pretty well, it can control a lot of the map. Evie has some decent places she can play here, put her wormhole in a safe spot, and just really harass any tank on the objective.
Well, Team Project going to prioritize this Barik, and I think that's worth talking about by itself, because Barik had kind of fallen by the wayside, I feel like, but Hiro has really come back to this Barik time and time again, and actually has played it well, has been buying tons of time and picks the right moments for these dome shields. I think that it's a bit surprising that they love the Barik this much, but it's really worked for them.
I think with how Sanguine like to play, if they want a point tank, they need Barik or Terminus. If they end up with Terminus, they're just going to get overwhelmed from all sides. Terminus can't really withstand that pressure, especially with Khan getting picked every single game by Sanguine. Vortex Grip just annihilates Term. So having Barik, someone who can dodge him a little bit more consistently, it's just safer. And speaking of safe, Evie goes by. Sanguine playing a little unsafe by letting that go. Ban it every game, and Team Project are going to have to prove to us why it's bannable.
Bringing out the big guy.
This is scary. Now they're going to add the Ruckus in too, so it's Team Project that are moving to a little bit softer of a front line here this time. I mean, Barik and Ruckus is still technically 2, but Ruckus feels a bit more flanky to me, and now you're pairing that with that Evie. This is a ton of pressure for Team Project.
The dive composition is in full force for Project. They have it. They have a target. They have Jenos. They can just get on top of him. None of the flankers or the Tyra are going to be viable targets, but if you kill that Jenos quick and then maybe trade some health on a flanker, it could be a very easily winnable fight for Project.
Yeah, and it's just the single support here for Sanguine as well. A lot going to be on that Jenos. And you just mentioned that the Jenos is the target for Team Project. I don't know, man. In terms of the play style for the map that we're on, in terms of the draft for the map that we're on, kind of the momentum for the set too, the way that's been going, it feels like this could potentially be favoring Team Project here, Kresnik. How are you looking at it when you're seeing all the drafts and the map and the totality of the set?
I think it comes down to how good the dives are for either team. I think there's a clear dive target up for Project, as I said before, but the Furia on the other side can be under just as much pressure, if not a little bit more capable of defending themselves. It's about whether Poison and Ghogert, can find a target before Bunny and Shadow can. It's all about who will get into that backline and get a kill first, or at least trade out. Maybe Project just play super far back, catch out the dive, and then go in themselves. Whoever can outplay on the dive is going to win this map.
Well, so far throughout the entire of this set, Sanguine has done better in the early game. Can Project upset that, or can they hold out as they have done so far? Well, it looks like upset that is G-Bunny and Hiro working together in the dive, take care of Cool early on. Steve gets the answer back on the Shadow. The Evie doesn't quite find that value we're looking for early, as rKuhl can't quite handle his trade either. Poison gets the kill onto him. ballersteve takes care of Hiro as well. So the early percent favoring Project, but Sanguine now the ones in control of the center.
Bunny gives up like 18% there, and I'm not sure if I like that. He could have died on the objective and bought even more time for Hiro to refight, but for now they're just going to be sitting way far back, waiting to come in. They do chip Poison a little bit, which could open up some space, but Khan being able to team heal, another big part of why Sanguine have been able to be so tanky, keep themselves alive, but they're going to have to push through this hold by Ghogert. rKuhl going down, that's a lot of damage off the table for Project.
Sanguine still holding strong early on. Shadow trying to buy some time, but the second that he comes out, he gets grabbed. And Ghogert, maybe a little bit off what they were normally looking for, but he gets the kill on the Shadow either way. And G-Bunny can't afford to stick around, it's so much so that he ends up falling 99%, and the overtime going to fall off at this point. No one on it, though, in control. Now that rKuhl's fallen, Sanguine have full center control. But that bought time for Hiro to get here and to find himself a grade. He goes down, and Sanguine's still controlling it. This first cap belongs to them.
Yeah, that dive was great at the start, but maybe a bit of an overcommitment. I think Bunny needs to rethink about the objective pressure that he needs to do. Maybe turn back around a little bit faster to keep that held. But they have an opening, at least, with Poison going down, and now they're going to collapse on this. It looks like Tyra there, stuck on the right side.
That's who they're looking for. Shadow comes up over. There's a little bit of help for this Tyra in the form of the Buck, but it doesn't matter. That just means that there were two people to kill, and that's what happens in favor of Project. rKuhl gets the double as Wadu falls as well. So Project have now stalled out this push cleanly. I might add, Sanguine have to entirely regroup.
And they're taking this scroll area, but I was... Okay, they did spot the side from blue, the flank of Ghost trying to come through. Don't actually end up making it happen, and the resilience not having it is making it so easy for Wadu to find these kills with the Vortex.
So Ghogert gets the first one, Wadu gets the second as G-Bunny can't hold on any longer. rKuhl now here, and he's looking for what damage he can, but he falls right away as well. So Sanguine may have gotten stalled at initially, but now they're back in control. They can get back to the payload and start pushing. That was all really a zone for Project that just finally started to collapse. It ate away at some of this time, but Sanguine should be able to get at least a decent positioning out of this.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to try to go forward, but there's so much space to the enemy spawn, and it's a very easy hold to keep locked down. Yeah, they still have so much room to cross. You can see the dive trying to come in on the side. They even use the Buck Wild, but kind of just walks away. There's just too much distance to cover.
They didn't get a whole lot out of it the way that they were wanting, so they regroup. In fact, by regroup, I mean fractured. Shadow with a double. rKuhl found one. Kus wants in on the action as well. Darn near a full wipe. And that will start the pause out here from Wadu, so maybe a little bit more happened there than we thought in terms of that push, but Project, certainly the ones in control.
I mean, I would pause to think about that too if I just got run over that quickly. I would say, Wadu, maybe just trying to take time to think about some stuff, but yeah, you could see the game plan that Project want. Bunny, we saw the pressure start, like, all right, this is some good aggression, and then we cut to someone else's POV, and Bunny is literally on the point. He's that far behind them already, trying to just make room, make them turn. I have a feeling this is going to be a hideous stat line for Bunny at the end of this game, but he's going to be making space. He's going to be turning heads. As long as they can sync up and actually collapse on people in that time, they're going to be able to make this work.
Yeah, is there any way we can get some tracks here? How about how many people did damage to you when you died? Maybe that can kind of reveal how many people were looking at you or something like that. I don't know. We want to give G-Bunny a bit more credit for all the work that he's been able to put in. But Project have found a decent stall here. Only 35 seconds left, and this can be such a difficult map to push when you've got plenty of time. This is not a lot for Sanguine to work with.
Being able to hold in this forward choke with this little time left when the card is this close is huge for Team Project. It's a tough one to push through, especially with the Strix abusing those sight lines. You're going to see why Bunny should be able to just get out for free, potentially, if he doesn't overextend, which he does. They still keep this locked down and force out the crossfire.
It was a one-for-one trade. As you mentioned, the Tyra does have to use the ultimate towards the back end. Shadow makes it back out of there as well, buying time. But that's exactly what Project are doing. Gets the kill onto Ghogert and makes this push even less likely for Sanguine. I mean, in overtime, it's so unlikely to happen at this point. But they still got it stacked up and going. That's really just being bought for them by Wadu, who was stalling out their push. G-Bunny makes it back in, gets this kill, and that's enough. Team Project defend successfully. It'll be 1-1 going into this next mid-fight. And last time we talked about how maybe that dive that we were expecting to be so strong there for Team Project might have been a bit of an overcommit. What do you want to see from them this time?
I want to see them sync up off their ultimates. They have a chance to make it work now. No real combos, but they could lock someone in with an Ice Storm and then dash in with a Hexafire. Now that they have those ults, they can commit a little bit harder. They need to, I think, get on the right target. Steve is going to be playing so far back that maybe you have to find Cool. Maybe you have to catch poison between his cooldowns. Wadu's just going to be locking them out on the point, and Ghogert playing this build with 30% DR on jump plus reset. You're not going to be able to lock him down. Find Steve. Find poison between his cooldowns. Maybe burn down Cool before he can DR. He does have to wait for the timer every time, and you can make it work. But Sanguine have a lot of burst damage, and they're going to want to win fast.
And they will take care of G-Bunny just as quickly as you mentioned. Steam gets the credit, but that was a team effort. Hiro in the back has been grabbed as well, too, so that's why Gogert's getting aggressive. They'd love to punish him, and they get it. So, yes, it cost them Cool's life, but they took care of both priority targets on the side of Team Project that they wanted. That's why Sanguine should be able to get this center control. But even still, Project hold on. That did not quite pan out the way they wanted. In fact, Ghogert has just fallen down as well. Big heal almost keeps Wadu alive, but he'll finally end up falling. So G-Bunny and Shadow and the rest of Team Project somehow are the ones that come out on top.
It's the weakness of the Jenos. Everyone gets low, and Furia just boop, boop. Everyone's full health. Jenos has to slowly grind everyone back to that health that they need to be at to fight. It's just not enough. They don't have the healing to refight.
And they didn't find anything with that time and space. Just makes Steve a target. Cool falls as well. And Team Project have turned things around. This is what it's felt like to me all day long, that Sanguine can win those initial big fights, but the more drawn out things get, the longer things go. It feels like Team Project are, I think the word you used earlier was adapting, and it's been working here for them. They've adapted quite well. They are fully zoning Sanguine back and getting a ton of early push out of this.
I think maybe Sanguine just aren't used to being contested to this level. Honestly, I feel like a lot of their games have been very quick on their side, but this is a tough one for them. It's been rolled back and forth, and Sanguine needs to figure out what to do when the fight doesn't end immediately because they're just out damaging everything. Project have the answer, and Sanguine need to find another response.
Shadow aggressive, and Shadow gets the kill. That's poison he's taken care of. And look how different these pushes are for these two teams. Sanguine are stuck basically in their spawn, and Shadow's right there point blank for the damage. The Buck can't quite find it. Ricotta was there to back up Shadow. They finally claim that Evie, but look how much space she's earned. Wadu ends up dropping as well. Ricotta keeping checks over here onto the Androxus, and that's a successful push for Project. They're right on the doorstep of winning the set.
And they have decent ultimates to do it because time and space went out before. Overpower not available. They have what they need to engage with the Inflame. They also honestly just need the Inflame. That Hexafire is going to be just a cherry on top. Inflame is such a strong ability. If it can go through the DR, all that's keeping Sanguine alive through these dives is damage reduction, and Inflame basically makes that moot. Turns into a normal dive then, and Sanguine have to play differently, but it looks like they're just playing too close around each other, expecting that to be enough, and it's just not.
And what's funny is that they don't have the Dome Shield right now, but right about the time when you'd probably be wanting it is when Hiro would have that back at his disposal. So I'll keep an eye on where his ult is charging up as well. But let's see how kusqt uses this Inflame to start this fight off. Project with a chance to potentially end things right here and now, so they get aggressive and force out two. There's that Inflame we've been looking for, and kusqt has to use it to reposition, but Gogert's already gotten Ricotta. Steve takes care of kusqt as well, so a good answer back from Sanguine at the start start of this fight, but Shadow gets the double to make things worse.
It was a great start by Sanguine, how they stayed split, but Hiro was controlling the objective the whole time, still have people in. If Shadow stays close enough, they could trade this and keep this going for them. Great flick by Shadow, keeps things in control for them. Giving up the point for now, but the respawns are coming, Finch.
Yeah, the respawns are, and now they're contesting, so the percent not building up for Sanguine during all this, even though that fight did slightly end favorably for them. Shadow doing good work to remain maneuverable, and look at the percent slowly building. They're at 60 now, and the health bars are too low. In fact, Shadow won't even let them think about retreating. He goes in to find the kill. Cool falls first. Poison answers back, and with that Hero, that takes away a lot of the front line for Team Project. They've lost G-Bunny, that's the rest of it. So this is good. Maybe Sanguine can stay in it.
They still have to keep the capture going, though, and they have to throw someone away for it, so the zone won't be as effective. But still, look at Ghogert going up top. He kills two.
That's big from Ghogert to find those kills. They finally shut down Shadow, and with that fast cap, that will be enough to extend the life. Yes, Hero's made it in, but he can only do so much on this overtime, as well as G-Bunny. They're just trying to add some time, but that will be the cap desperately needed by Sanguine. So they extend it to the 2-3, and really there's not a ton of risk for them, because Project obviously can't win off the back of it. Sanguine really needed this.
Yeah, and Sanguine adapted, and it's all on them for being able to actually recover with the way they defended, but recover from this is going to be a little bit harder with this pressure up top from Shadow and Hiro.
Team Project, Ricotta, Cuss, and the boys get a bunch of kills to start clipping the heels of Sanguine early on, or clipping the wings, rather, is the actual expression. Good work to stop them from getting a lot of extra push. You can see how different the push from Sanguine the first time and Sanguine now, as opposed to the one push that we've seen from Project. Project were able to snowball and get a ton of early push with the payload, and both times Sanguine got stalled.
It's just a little bit harder when you only have a Khan and you're constantly playing at this height disadvantage. That's where Khan kind of struggles and falters, and he's constantly playing to that. And now look, things opening up. He doesn't get spotted by Andy and just goes straight into the back.
G-Bunny could start the dive, and Cool really doesn't have anywhere to go. He ends up falling. Wadu and Poison join him, and the push is going to be so difficult for Sanguine. But the thing is, they might not ever have to push, technically. I mean, they can afford to keep losing this and maybe just win some mid-fights. But they have been getting stalled out on offense every single time here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because of the dive into the back, it's just like Serpent Beach, where once you move too close to an easy defender high ground, they're going to take it. They have the perfect comp to abuse it, especially when Evie is clearly something Sanguine are very uncomfortable playing against.
Yeah, this has been
for some reason prioritizing. You'd think they would prioritize banning the Evie over the Inara, but I guess they're targeting out Hiro. I think that he can't play this Barik, but after a couple games of pretty solid Barik play, I don't believe that.
No, me neither. I think he's looked great on this Barik. I mean, that's what I talked about for the most of picks and bans, was he's looked strong despite some of Barik's obvious weaknesses, I'd say, at this point, too. So that's good from Hiro to sort of have this back pocket push. Sanguine might finally be able to try and get a little bit of offense going. They've shut down Hiro. They're back to the payload, and they can start pushing it now. But yet again, they've just lost so much of their time getting here that it's going to be so hard for them to make the push. And G-Bunny now diving Cool in the back. But Cool gets some backup this time and does manage to stall that out. So maybe they can make this happen after all. They're starting to push a little bit more, but only 10 seconds left.
Just to showcase the dive potential of Ruckus there, he forced out the crossfire and still almost killed him. It was really that close. And now that that's not there, if Bunny respawns, which he'll have time to, and dives again, he's going to be doing just as much, maybe forcing out another ultimate, putting even more pressure on Sanguine, who were in a tumultuous place as it is.
And the thing is, Sanguine can't afford to commit any resources here because they're the ones at risk at this next mid-fight. They've got to have those ultimates. So even if they are going to fight in, Project could happily keep them at bay. Cool gets the first kill, though, onto G-Bunny. So the dive doesn't work now twice in a row. What was looking really impossible for Sanguine might be starting to come into clearer focus. Cuss does take care of Ghogert to take him out, but Poison still clinging to life. Gets the kill onto Shadow. So the push started to come more and more realistic. Hiro falls as well. Kresnik, this is turning on its head entirely. G-Bunny getting staggered now, but they finally remove Poison. They needed that Androxus damage so much, but Sanguine get the push. They're going to come into this mid-fight 3-3.
I think they just put too much attention on the sides. They knew that Poison was there. They knew they had to deal with him, but this is a single tank team. Just kill Wadu. Just pressure Wadu. Pressure the objective. Maybe Poison goes onto your backline, but if you trade your tank, you have the spawn advantage. You automatically win, more or less, if you get rid of that solo tank.
But instead, they didn't put enough focus into Wadu. And can you kind of feel the tension starting to creep in a little bit now for Team Project? They were in such a favorable position. The length of the game, the fact that we're going to come into this mid-fight 3-2, very likely, and they just couldn't hold on to it. Looks like it is going to be a pause from G-Bunny, so we'll have a little bit more time to break down this next mid-fight. But if I'm on the side of Team Project, I can't even believe we're going into a 3-3.
Yeah, I do think they're in a good way, though, coming into this, because Sanguine won that last mid-fight off of a strong adaptation. That's something Project can respond to. Instead of stacking all their divers on the left, they can wait, spot, and then move. They have the Master Ride and get away with that. What happened last mid, everyone on Sanguine, they had 1 or 2 people baiting far left and blue, and everyone else was playing on the side of point just to surround the people coming in. If Project play a little bit more careful, they can push back the people looking for the surround and make it significantly easier for them. You can already see, look, in the back, rKuhl waiting. Ghogert doesn't see him and opening himself up for a flank.
Ghogert steps in, takes a bunch of damage, and rKuhl gets the kill early on. Just as you said, Project have a ton of percent on the back of that as well, 33 already, as they're largely uncontested. You could tell already, because where Wadu is, there's no one who could be inside that central area already. Team Project have grabbed a bunch of control. That's a big kill from Steve, though. He knew he had to go for it to try and shut down kusqt, but can they capitalize as rKuhl continues to light up the kill feed? Ghogert finally shuts him down, but now here's the G-Bunny dive, 96% and climbing, and there is no touch. Team Project run away with it and put the set to bed.
It was a great ult by Steve to try to make things a little easier, make Hiro have to come back, but then they just staggered out. They took fights they couldn't have won. Hiro capped literally the entire time because they were playing so scared of the dive.
Yeah, it was 100% right from 0 to 100, uncontested, I would say, in favor of Team Project there. And you're right, they had to position so differently. And what's really sticking out for me is that they had to play against the Evie this time, 22-9 for Shadow. That's just absurd. He was the one that was really keeping everyone's heads on a swivel and making that dive so scary because you could never be prepared.
And they ban it. They've been banning it for months at this point. They've banned it for so long. You can't give it up against a player who is strong, dominant almost in the PPL when he got to play it. You can't give that up. You know he's going to be that good. And on any map, honestly, with him, you just can't give it up. Made it so much harder for themselves, especially paired with the Ruckus. I think maybe if they had just played a little bit more careful around the Evie, baited a little bit harder, but there is just no real answer to how Together Project were. Look at this. That's not the answer to an Evie diving your backline.
No, it's not. I mean, they're making that triple kill happen. But the thing is, they're getting funneled into those points as well, right? Because of all the pressure that G-Bunny has, because they're trying to get out of the lines of sight from rKuhl on this Strix. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. It's like they were doomed if they don't and doomed if they did.
Yeah, getting caught in a gambit is why this draft was so strong. Instead of just having a dive comp, you have a dive comp that has this strong backline and someone who's never going to get off the objective as long as the fight's still going on.
And that was what Hiro was able to do for them on that Barik, was just kind of plant, basically, and say, come out and contest me. And I think that this would be a great set to kind of look back on and see some of the value of these picks and bans, too, just kind of across these games and see how it's like leveling, basically, that was happening, these sort of mind games throughout each one of these games. Essentially, we got to the point where Team Project was able to come out on top. I mean, they did a great job kind of boxing in Sanguine and eventually grabbing that win.
Yeah, and they really abused them in the draft, I think, as the game went on. They knew what they were going to do, and Sanguine maybe ran out of tricks in their book because Project just had the answer.
Well, Project came out on top 3-1. Flashpoint, I think maybe not a huge surprise. They win their matchup against Office Jet. Snappin' win up against Tea Party as well. That's going to do it for the broadcast, at least for those games here today. Let's get those updated standings here for North America. Project now, the sole owners of that top spot with Sanguine right there behind them. Kind of funny, everyone has their own slash line here in North America, whereas Europe and Brazil, everybody has to share. But North America, it's looking a little bit more clearly defined.
I still think that 3-4-5 position is up for grabs a little bit with how Snappin' played against Flashpoint in the past, and HP, I think, improving from the week to week. I'm excited to see how these teams, now we get into the second rotation where they play each other again, how they look now, potentially new meta, and a lot more time to gel with their teams.
And remember, back in Europe, District 69 looking like the team that everyone has to sort of measure themselves up against. In Brazil, maybe things a little bit more contested, not quite as clear cut. But now this spot opened up in North America for Team Project as the team to measure yourself against. Now, Krez, we are going to still have that Paladins broadcast tomorrow as well, so people are going to want to make sure that they are checking that out to see some of those other games that we didn't get to broadcast to you all today. But for all the other casters, everyone in production that's making it happen, I appreciate you all for watching. That is going to do it here for us for Paladins on Thursday, and we'll see you all tomorrow.